Okay, so it seems like recently Ironmouse has been getting a little bit of hate over a post that she's made. Now, again, I say a little bit of hate, and I think it is very important to emphasize it's only a little bit of hate, but it is definitely something that I wanted to talk about because it is interesting, and it kind of ties into the topic of the last video that I just made about Vermilion Nephis being a part of Blue Archive, right? And essentially, if you guys don't know, obviously Ironmouse was supposed to be in a sponsor for Blue Archive, but ended up getting dropped as you know, some people weren't happy with this kind of lineup. I think it was mainly due to some of Sea Dog's comments, but of course they all just kind of got roped into it together, and a lot of people weren't happy due to the fact of comments that were made about, you know, lolly type characters and things like that, which of course you know, is mainly, you know, it's a big feature within Blue Archive, so it just didn't really make sense, right, that they would be, you know, streaming it and things, especially if they're so against it. But obviously I understand they're getting their bag, but of course, fans were not happy. Fans of the game were not happy. But recently, Ironmouse actually posted something about Azur Lane. Now, this is another gacha game, which of course she says, can't believe I'm going to be in Azur Lane. Now, of course, you know, this is, you know, the character looks very, very cool. I actually play a lot of Azur Lane. I don't play much Blue Archive. Actually, I've never played Blue Archive. I don't know what I'm saying. I've never played Blue Archive, but I've played a lot of Azur Lane because, again, the characters are absolutely insane. You guys have probably seen on my Twitter. I've commented about some of them. It's pretty crazy. Anyways, so they have this character here, which obviously looks a little bit like Ironmouse in terms of the design. Obviously, you got the twin tails there, and you know, the kind of pink stuff with a lot of the kind of, what you call it, the wings, the demon-like wings. Also, very similar kind of style here in terms of the what do you call them, like tights, or what do you call them? I don't know what you call them. I'm not a fashion person. But yeah, obviously similar, right? Not the same, but similar. And of course, yeah, she says, can't believe I'm being Azur Lane. And you know, some people have been kind of putting this down here, saying like, is she voicing it or they're just using her design? And obviously, it is just a joke. She is not going to be you know, she's not going to be like within the game or anything. She's not going to be a BA. And now some people are angry for different reasons. Now, of course, this one, some people are saying this game has AI. Show the outrage that you used NTE. Saying, does the game have fully AI animated, fully copied anime scenes so they can call it a reference? I don't think so. But I thought we were completely against AI, or we're being selective to fit that narrative. People saying what AI was used in Azur Lane. Now, again, I don't actually know what AI was used. It's not exactly obvious. Obviously, some people have different opinions in terms of how much, you know, they dislike AI. For example, whenever we covered the Porcelain Maid tweet, he said that, you know, he doesn't like it at any level. Now, of course, you know, that means even down to the writing or anything like that, which, of course, you know, is in a lot of games. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Azur Lane did use it somewhere in the writing or like the early pre-production, but in terms of the final product, I don't think I've seen any in the actual game itself, right? They use a lot of live 2D models, and you know, just how VTubers use live 2D models, Azur Lane also uses live 2D models, but instead to make these characters, you know, animated and things. Now, some people might think that's AI or something. That is not the case. They obviously do use, you know, kind of, what do you call it, live 2D. But again, obviously some people have different opinions about that. And yeah, a lot of people have been saying, oh my god, huge milestone, a huge congratulations, design is stunning, which obviously she's not like a, you know, everyone's falling for the joke here. She's not actually voicing the character or anything. She's not actually the character. She's just making a joke about it. People saying, what's stopping them from partnering with you at this point? You know, people saying, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if you do a collab with Azur Lane, but again, as I said, there's going to be a lot of people that will probably not be too happy with that. People said, but this game uses AI. I thought you were against AI. And again, I don't actually know, you know, people say proof. Again, I don't think I've seen any usage of AI in it, right? And you could 100% call her out on that if that was the case. But as I said, I just haven't seen any. Saying it's exactly you, although with more style. So yeah, obviously some people just kind of completely missing the joke and saying congrats. Well, you know, she's joking. She's not actually, you know, joining the Azur Lane team or anything like that. She's literally just saying that the character looks like her, and that's about it, right? Now, of course, there's been some quote retweets, people saying, you know, F off, you performative circus rat. Some people not very happy about that, saying, after seeing this, I decided to skip the event low key. Which, of course, as I said, some people not, you know, understanding that she's not actually in Azur Lane it was a joke. But obviously that can tell you how much some Azur Lane players and are feeling about this. And I think it does kind of come back to the Blue Archive thing, because of course Azur Lane does feature a lot of lolly type characters as well, right? Not as many, I would say, as Blue Archive. I feel like Blue Archive has a lot more. But of course there is a lot of people who enjoy them within Azur Lane as well, who will not be happy with Ironmouse in it. People saying, why does everyone think that all characters with pink hair and pigtails are inspired by her? It makes me nervous. And also, yeah, that's something that a lot of people have been pointing out as well. Some people like saying, oh, it doesn't even look like her kind of thing, which is something you could maybe argue, I guess, right? And of course, yeah, people saying, yeah, totally, yeah. I'm saying, no way, I'm going to be in Azur Lane. Saying, OMG, this is insane. I want to cosplay both. So again, it seems like there's been a couple of, murmurs and things. It's just like one of these things where, I can understand that if she was to do a full-on collab with Azur Lane, I think it would turn out exactly the same as the Blue Archive sponsor. I think a lot of the community would not be very happy, especially with the comments, especially if like people like Sea-Dog are in it. I don't think Ironmouse necessarily did anything wrong in terms of like her opinions on, lolly characters and things like that. But I do think, if she was to do like a similar one, maybe with like Sea-Dog or whatever, it would be a problem. Now, I would like to see it because I like both of them and I like, watching their content, right? And watching them play a game that I like would be really cool. But at the same time, as I said, the community, I'm not too sure on how, they would respond. And you can see already with some of the quote retweets that some people were not too happy, right? And of course, there's been other people talk about this as well on the VShojo sort of Reddit here saying Dark Mode Mouse. There's a couple of Numi clones in there as well, which obviously, yeah, saying after Dark Ironmouse, well, time to re-download Azur Lane. Is this a joke that she's pink? Which obviously, yeah, some people, are not very happy in the sense that, because it doesn't actually really look too much like Ironmouse. As I said, the main things that I can really see is, the kind of like, what do you call it, devil wings things, which obviously is a part of her character. Obviously the twin tails, which she uses sometimes within some of the characters, with like the pink hair. But again, it is mostly black hair, to be honest. And I think maybe like the leg part here does look like some of her models. So again, there's only some small parts, but again, I don't think it's like copying her, right? I don't think it's anything too similar to the point where it's like, oh my god, this is literally Ironmouse. I think there is definitely some differences here, which I could definitely differentiate between this character and obviously Ironmouse's VTuber model, any of her VTuber models, of course, because she changes them quite regularly, right? But I do think, obviously this was just supposed to be a funny joke, right? I don't think she's like seriously believing that they've like copied her design or something like that, of course. But I do think, it has led to some people, giving a lot of negative, feedback and stuff to this, which, obviously isn't great. But I can understand why some people maybe don't want her to go to the game after the whole Blue Archive stuff, because that definitely was a situation that blew up quite massively last time. So again, maybe we'll see something like this, kind of change in the future. Maybe we'll see a sponsor in the future. You never know. And if that does happen, well, it's going to be very interesting to see how people react to that and how the Azur Lane community react to that, how the gacha community in general reacts to that. Because yeah, obviously of past things, right? But yeah, that's about it. That's about all I got. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameStop, use my code Kazo, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. See ya.